mortgage rates dropped to the lowest point in months. And Fannie Mae forecasts that they'll go below 6% by the end of the year. And if you own a home here in the city of Maricopa, that news changes things when it comes down to your timing on your sale. In the next few moments, you're going to get 3 critical numbers that are going to impact your selling and what they mean and how they impact you. I sell Maricopa. I work this market every single week. And what you're about to see impacts the city of Maricopa 85138, 851 right now in this current time. And if you want to have this broken down for you for a particular home, your home, a family member's home, friend's home, whatever it is, the link is down below in the description and inside the comment area. So what the data is saying, there's 452 active listings right now at the time I pulled my data. And 53% of these homes in the city of Maricopa have already cut their pricing. And 47% of them have been on the market for more than 60 days. And what does this mean for a Maricopa home seller, someone potentially looking at the idea of selling their home? You're competing against 452 homes, and more than half of them have already blinked. Homes priced between $350,000 and $400,000 have 115 homes to compete with right now. So let's dive into the mistakes that sellers make and the smart sellers. The biggest mistake is listing it on what you want and hoping a buyer meets you there. When a seller is not in charge of the market and pricing a home that way, they are putting themselves behind the 8 ball drastically. What I have learned over nearly a quarter of a century in a market like this, if you're pricing it wrong, it's going to be like a snowball going down the hill. You're going to be chasing that quarter down the hill. And what ends up happening once you do all your adjustment, you're usually at a minimum of 96 cents on the dollar that you're selling your home for versus 100% on that dollar. And that means in a $400,000 home, you're looking at about $16,000 in loss. With 115 homes or 452 homes, however you look at it, the buyer is in charge of this market. The smart seller, they're pricing their home based on data, pure information coming in from homes just like their homes within their subdivision are darn near close to a subdivision that historically the numbers will align with their subdivision. They're pricing their home to sell. Let's dive into what the data says. Last week, 24 homes sold here in the city. That's 29% less than the same week last year, when 34 homes sold. The pending count right now, homes under contract, is at 60. And the median days on market is at 52. That means home buyers are not jumping, right? They're looking, they're making sure they're getting the right home for their needs. And what this means for a Maricopa home seller, they're comparing the homes, they're researching the homes, they're figuring out, bottom line, what is the best home for them. Year over year, we're down by 3% on new mortgage applications. And if you're in the pipeline business yourself, you know then that fewer people are entering into the pipeline. That is a huge impact with 3% just vanishing. So with this knowledge, what are the mistakes that homeowners are making versus the smart sellers? Hoping, sitting around waiting for home activity to increase. If you're in the market to sell right now, there's no waiting. Now is your market. And if you're buying somewhere else, now is your market there. But waiting for something to change, I'm not seeing that magical thing happening overnight. Nothing drastically changing. Some slight positive things can come our way, but nothing major. We're not seeing a new 2005-06 type of a boom. The COVID bump I talked about where supply was restricted because the builders couldn't build fast enough because they didn't have windows, appliances, whatnot. We're not seeing something like that happening anytime soon, in my opinion. Could I be wrong? Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be, but I could be. And the bottom line is waiting is not someone's best friend. It's like a green banana and waiting to have it just perfectly ripe, and then you take off for a week. It may be perfect for banana bread, but in the day, You need to take action if you're in the market to sell. Waiting most likely is not your friend. And just think about it like this way. The buyer has so many options in today's market. When you have so many options, urgency in itself vanishes. And that's where the smart seller comes in. They're pricing it correctly. They're staging it correctly. They're prepping it correctly. They're getting a home inspection and taking care of all those items before they're even putting the home on the market. They don't want to have some inspection items that they could have just addressed ahead of time. This is a completely different market than if you had bought when the market was booming or just a nice steady hum of appreciation. It's not that market. 62.5% of the listings that closed this last week closed below the original listing asking price. And on average, just over $19,000 that they took a hit on by waiting. And they waited on average about 87-ish days before they even got an offer accepted. And out of the group that sold last week, 37.5% of them sold at list price or higher, and they closed within 45 days. And both groups are in the same market. The difference is on how they entered the market and who they entered the market with. The bottom line, that $19,000-ish wasn't from poor negotiation. It was from how they entered this market. It has a huge, huge impact. Who wants to lose $19,000 based on how they entered the market? It's, in short, a cost for being optimistic in this market, thinking that somehow you have the luck of the Irish on your side and something's going to happen good for you in a market with high inventory, with skeptical buyers that they're going to buy, but they're just not urgent. There's not 4 buyers, 20 buyers to one home. That's not the equation. So quick question. Are you more desperate on day 1 to take an offer, or are you more desperate on day 90, day 120 to take an offer? What is going to be your mental standing at that point on how your negotiation stance is in order to get that home sold? That's the impact on pricing it incorrectly, not having the home ready to be sold, not having something like I offer, the Zillow Showcase Enhanced Experience, that has so many data points saying that is the route. If you don't have an agent who's offering that, you're entering the market incorrectly. You need an agent who has all the bells and whistles to get your home sold. So agent A can put it in the MLS, agent B can put it in the MLS, same with agent C. What makes those agents stand apart? What are their services that they bring to the table? What are their skill sets, their experience? How do they handle negotiation? Are they handling negotiation just to get a deal underneath the market or off the market in escrow? Are they handling in a way that addresses your needs and wants, but yet at the same time being aware of how the market's working? The bottom line is this is why my sellers sit down with me to strategize. They're not sitting down with me to say, hey, let's list. I don't even bring listing paper to my appointments. You're either going to want to do business with me, we're going to have an agreement on the pricing strategy and structure, the marketing and advertising that goes into it, the continued efforts to get your home sold. Most agents come well prepared. They get the paper in the hand and they're ready to sign that listing because all they're wanting is a listing. There's a big difference when you're dealing with a skilled, seasoned veteran who's been doing this for nearly a quarter of a century, has helped thousands of households, hundreds of 5-star reviews. Check me out. Google me. See the data points that you find on me. You'll see the difference based on who you work with. All agents are not the same. Roughly 7% of the agents do 93% of the business, meaning that 93% of the agents are fighting over 7% of the business. Why is that? Skill set, experience, the services offered. The bottom line is, if you want to have an agent like me with an amazing skill set and experience, click the link down in the comment area in the description. Let's get the process started to at least discovering potentially what your home could sell for. Then we can work towards a meeting when you're ready. Now, here's what the data tells us what to do right now if you're thinking about selling your home here in the city of Maricopa. The very first thing is understanding the mortgage rates. Where are they at today? The last I checked, when I got my data for this video, was at 6.25%. And they're forecasted to decrease further to around that 6%, slightly below 6%, where we were seeing them before the Iran war. Things are going to start settling back in. They're going to continue decreasing down to about that point. And we're going to be kind of staying steady around that point from all the data points I've been reading. And when they hit or dip below 6%, there's going to be a herd of sellers hitting the market. You want to be in front of that market before it hits there. Okay. I have a seller right now. When the Iran war started, we just did the paperwork and they said, put the brakes on. I don't want to sell it right now. That was their personal decision. But at that point, shortly after, the rates went up to like 6.5-ish range. So it might have been a smart decision on that. But many sellers too are saying, hey, I'd like to get into that 6 or slightly below 6 range for when I'm repurchasing, right? So that's why we're going to start seeing people enter the market when those rates get back down there. Next, you need to know your bracket. Are you sitting on a home that's a $500,000 home? You're sitting on a home that's a $270,000 home. At that point, we're going to start knowing what's your bracket, how many buyers are in there. Then within that bracket, we're going to slice that down further to have an understanding on really close around your range. You know, say your home's a 275. What's a 285 home looking like? What's the bracket? What's your selling box looking like for their buying box? And how much competition is in there? That's going to tell us a big picture on how your home will sell. And your home will have to stand out on pricing, presentation, and condition. Third, you're going to need to price it to your desired days on market. And part of that too is, hey, 90 days. Well, maybe we shouldn't be putting your house on the market quite yet, right? Because we do want to be pricing it somewhere between 30 and 55 days on market. That's just a reality. Because again, if we're pricing it to something like 90 and more, what did we just talk about earlier? We're going to see the 96 cents as a minimum on your dollar. It's going to be a big hit, roughly $19,000 to $20,000 hits we've seen that were from wrong pricing. So we do want to understand the days on market, pricing that gets us there, condition that gets us there, the presentation that gets us there. And all three of those things are so critical to having you be successful in today's real estate market. Hey, if your goal is to sell your home smoothly, quickly, for top dollar, without all the stress and chaos and confusion, that's what we do over here on this side of the equation. We do it day in, week out, month in, quarter out, year round. We get home selling here in the city of Maricopa. And for the city of Maricopa homeowners only, go to MaricopaHomesForSale.com. Get your free home buyer report today. And for next week, we're going to be looking at what subdivisions here in the city of Maricopa are selling quickly and which ones are kind of in a hungover situation that just are stuck not getting sold. Look forward to sharing the data points with you next week. Drop a like, drop a share, do a follow. We look forward to being your support here in the city of Maricopa when it comes to pricing, strategy, all aspects. Again, your home ready to sell for top dollar and quickly.